G'day, Justin Hogg here from Right Source, counting down to Christmas and maxing out the credit card. So this week we're going to talk about internal controls, or more so we're going to talk about preventing people from stealing from your business, or what's also called internal fraud. Now, a lot of us hear about external fraud, or where people send emails or hack into your business or do that type of thing. And damage your business either monetarily or just through sheer vandalism. What we often don't hear a lot about is where someone within your organization actually is the one doing the damage, either by stealing your IP or stealing your money. I think there's a couple of reasons why we don't hear about this. Mostly because when someone does that, it's very personal and it hurts. It's very upsetting, and often it's not, once you find out about it, it's too late. There's not a lot that can be done to recover that situation. But what I want to talk to you today, I suppose, is about how that happens and why internal controls, which sounds super sexy, I get it, it's accounting stuff, but why those processes that you build within your business that feel like checks and measures, that feel like you're checking on your staff, really are there more to protect them than to restrict them. Let me talk you through an example. So what I've seen of internal fraud, or where a business gets taken for hundreds of thousands of dollars taken out of their business and they didn't know, often doesn't start out as fraud. So you'll have a situation where you have a trusted employee who does your books, and that trusted employee, for whatever reason, is short on cash. Maybe they've got some school fees to pay, or it's just been Christmas and they've maxed out their credit card, or whatever it is, and they're short-term cash. And they know you're busy as the owner of the business, and they decide, well, I just need a couple of grand, I'm just gonna borrow it from the business and then I'll pay it back, but it's a short-term thing, all best intentions, I'll give the money back. So they borrow this money, and what happens is that no one noticed that they borrowed it. So, so then there's no rush to pay it back, okay. Now, because they can do that in the first place, there's obviously not very strong controls or internal controls on checking or what's going on, because you trust them, because they've worked in the business forever, or they're someone you really depend on. And they know that you trust them, and they want to repay that trust by paying this money back. Then something else comes up, and they need to borrow a little bit more. And then something else comes up and they need to borrow a little bit more. And they always intend to pay this money back. That's the intention. But they've just been in a rough patch, some hard times, and they keep borrowing this money, and no one notices it, because there's no checks and balances, there's no internal control. And then all of a sudden, they're over 100,000, or they're over 200,000. And now it's too late. Now they'll never be able to pay this money back. And they know that. But they're stuck because they still have best intentions. They feel guilty about it, but they're stuck, so they can't leave, because they know that if they leave, you'll find out. They don't want you to find out, because then they'll have broken your trust, so they make sure that they don't tell you and they keep it hidden. Meanwhile, quite often they still need more money, and they are now comfortable borrowing this money from the business. So it just continues. So now they're in a situation where really just waiting for someone to stumble upon this and go, oh my God, look how much is missing. But at that point it all ends, because there's no way you're gonna get this money back. There's no way they're ever gonna be able to pay it back, and it'll be a loss to your business. This process happens over a long period of time. So they've been in the business, they've been that trusted employee for a number of years to have accumulated that amount owing. And why you often, when you do hear about internal fraud, people go, I can't believe they did it. I trusted them implicitly. How could they have stolen so much money from me? So it's really like that frog in the pot of water that's slowly boiling, is that through that slow incremental increase is how they get themselves in trouble. And they get to a point they can never get out of it. Now, this takes me back to, well, why do you put in internal control? So why do you have a check about what's being paid, and some processes that are something your accountant can definitely help you with, but it's just basically understanding what's going on and making sure that people can't just take money out of the business willy-nilly or take assets away. It's not because you don't trust them. It's so that you can help make sure that they don't get into trouble. And all best intentions, it happens and no one wins. So for me, that's why I find internal control so important, and why when I'm looking at a business, I want to make sure that I understand there are mechanisms in place to make sure if something goes missing, that we find it early, both to protect the business owner, but also to protect the employees of the business. So that's internal controls. Fraud, internal fraud can be quite a confronting topic, and very confronting if you're exposed to it. If you liked the video this week, feel free to subscribe. There's also some other accounting videos that are pretty interesting, I think, on YouTube, so check them out, and I'll see you again next time. Thanks.